Hello, Elizabeth. I am now doing your chapter 2 video, and funnily enough, I'm actually sitting in a horse place. This is the acreage where our horse lives, and I don't know if you knew this, but Justice is a horse rider, so if you want to talk horses, talk to him. So anyway, let's get into this. So first thing, so here we have their respective sorrows in regards to both Almond and Willow. This was a bit of a hard sell for me as a reader because Almond really shared with her, and Willow kind of only said like, well, my father died, but I was really young. I didn't really get a sense of sorrow from Willow. So I would maybe kind of milk that up a bit. Oh, sorry, I hear things and I realized it's a dog. Hello, doggy. I think your name's Buddy. Yeah, your name's Buddy. You're a lot bigger than the last time I saw you. Hello. Okay, back to this. So, and this kind of ties into a couple of things here. So I wrote, hello, jumping up on my car. Goodness.
Is it like the pit bull even?
He's maybe got a bit of mastiff in him.
Oh, I've never seen him.
Sorry for the distraction, Elizabeth. So I wrote here, Willow's sorrow. Yeah, she was really young, so I wasn't really getting a sense of sorrow from it. And then this kind of ties in here, and I'll get back to that. I said go back to meeting, edit dialogue. So we'll go down here for this first. So these fields and vast blue sky. So to read it, have you ever wondered what lies beyond these fields? Willow asked, glancing up at the vast blue sky. I found this a bit odd because I feel like she should be looking off in the distance, like, what's beyond, what's out there, like, rather than looking like straight up at the sky, kind of pondering it. Like, I think it would just be more believable to the reader if, they were both like looking off into the distance and asking like, what's beyond this place? Like, what's out there? So that actually, come to think, it sort of ties into what's said here and what I want to discuss. So, but after everything that happened, I buried those dreams. So, in your dialogue, Almond never really shares with Willow what exactly she went through. She's kind of said like she lost her family and whatnot, but considering she's saying but everything that happened, I would really articulate from Almond to Willow like what happened in the war and why she ended up there. And it would probably make sense if like Willow was like, whoa, you were in the war, or I don't know, or like, are they really far away? So that ties into what I said about geography in another video. You really want to hammer that down, because from my perspective as the reader, it sort of feels like these guys are sort of in these like undefined places, and I don't know the relationship between like where Almond was and where she is now. Like, I know it must be like kind of far because it seems to be a place of peace that's relatively empty, but I would really nail that geography down so we get a sense of like where they actually are relative to where the plot was initially developed, like where your setup was and everything with the war. So in the next thing, now I just want to find my family again. I would change this because we've just, like, everyone's dead, right? So to say family again, this is where I'd put in like maybe just say brother, as she knows the rest of them are all dead. And there's another thing. There's a couple of points here where the dialogue is kind of like this. It's speaking of her family in like a general way, but in terms of consistency, like across the chapters, I'd really I'd avoid that language and specifically have her saying like, I'm like hunting for my brother. And that's kind of seems like what you're building up as being like the driving plot point. And maybe your ultimate like climax will be like her reuniting with the brother in some like fight or battle or something. I don't know. But that would be really cool. That'd make for a good story. So if you haven't written that far, that's what I'd pitch to you. So down here, Willow stepped closer, her gaze filled with understanding. Family is everything. I can't imagine losing mine. Oh, but she has, right? So I'd maybe check that dialogue, because we just said that she already had lost her father when she was young. So yeah, I would just like maybe put something entirely different there. Yeah, again, for consistency in the work. So next page, let's see what we got here. We got another warmth. So much warmth. This is a very warm, warm piece of writing. So I'm gonna tease you about that over and over again because it was used many times. And don't worry about it. Many writers, they realize that after they go back to do a bit of self-editing that, there's like one adjective that they accidentally used like 8,000 times. So that's all right. Down here, I'm very angry with you, Elizabeth. Look at this. American colors. We write Queen's English. Queen's English here. That colors needs to have a U. You're a traitor. And down here. Okay, so you wrote, carefully weaving them together as the sun warmed their coats and the gentle wind whispered secrets of the past. I understand the pull to use this line because it's gorgeous. It's a wonderful line. But it has no relevance to the context. That's a problem. What secrets? Of what past? Like, you could work that in somehow, but you need some pretext to validate it. I understand the pull to use really like awesome poetic English, but it needs to be functional, right? This has no like actual meaning to it. It doesn't actually mean anything. So you're like, what secrets? What past? Unless there's something you meant and I'm not getting it because I'm just dumb. But it looked to me like a nice little bit of poetry to throw at the end of a paragraph, but it needs to have some substance to it to actually use it. Now over here, so after saying she began to weave her own narrative and that embraced the laughter and light that she had almost forgotten, you jump in to tell me about your family. This kind of goes into what I was talking about restructuring your dialogue a bit. So it's more like, kind of feels like a bit of back and forth rather than just like short chunks of dialogue followed by paragraphs. In this case, this just felt kind of abrupt to me as a reader. I would maybe just have a bit of chit chat that like leads into it, or make it more intentionally abrupt. You could go the other way, maybe explain that there's kind of a moment of silence and they were humming and hawing, and then finally Willow turned up and was just like, tell me about your family. That'd be all right too. But this is kind of in the middle. I'd go one way or another. Down here, so you had this line, it just kind of jumped in and I heard of a lost horse named Flame looking for his lost family. This has already been mentioned, and this almost seemed like tacked on as if maybe you didn't remember. I would just get rid of this and maybe include it another way earlier. I right now don't remember exactly what the context was where you informed the reader that there were rumors of her brother maybe still being alive, but I would just strip that right out of there because it feels kind of like tacked on relative to what you're saying in this paragraph. And then down here, but the war came, she continued, her voice steadying. It took everything from me. I've been wandering ever since, searching for them. I would change the language here, and here. It's the same thing. You kind of say their return. They might be out there, them, but they're all dead, right? So I know it sounds kind of grim. They're all dead. But I would change this language so that because she's just searching for her brother, right? But you seem to keep saying family, like a plural thing. So yeah, I would just change all the language here so that it focuses on the brother. And then here, okay, this was an interesting one. So, and who knows, Willow said, playfulness returning to her tone. Perhaps as we create these wreaths, we'll summon a spark of magic and the universe might just guide them back to you. I'd be careful with this language depending on who you're trying to sell this book to, because writing like this, as I wrote here, may perturb Christian readers. I'm not gonna hammer you about this because this is a subjective thing within Christian communities and circles. In our church, some people are okay with their kids reading Harry Potter. I've traditionally been against it. I think in some cases I'm willing to open my kids up to it if they want to, because they've shown me really good spiritual discernment. So I'd be really careful with things pertaining to sorcery, and also saying the universe might just guide them back to you, because I don't want to slam you with any hard theology here, but I will probably end up using words you're unfamiliar with, but the universe kind of pertains to pagan spiritualism, if you will. That's it's sort of the antithesis of the biblical God in many spiritual schools of thought, if you will. So just a warning. I don't want to be like rah rah, don't do this, but be advised that stuff like this can be touchy with Christian readers, because they might think it's like heretical or or pagan or anything like that. Again, I'm a person who's traditionally been like kind of uneasy with Harry Potter. They're great books. We actually talked about this at the last day of Unleavened Bread, I believe that was. At the hotel. So anyway, I'll move on. They affixed their clusters of flowers into crowns. You already said this happened, actually. So I would think of some other action to fill the gap here. It said that they did that already, sort of a few sequences ago, if they will. Okay, here's an interesting one. So exactly, you wear your heart on your sleeve. Two problems here. One, do these horses wear shirts? What sleeves? How do they know what sleeves are? So this is a funny thing you got to watch in your writing, and I see this in fantasy all the time, where they try to use like an idiom or a phrase or an analogy that's from our common nomenclature here in the West, and the West in the 21st century, I'll say, and it doesn't make any sense in the context of the world these people are in. And so really, really watch for that. And I would also say, you using this turn of phrase here, like you wear your heart on your sleeve, I haven't actually really seen dialogue from Almond that I would expect Willow to sort of address in that way. Like, she's kind of been like in mourning and whatnot, and we don't usually use that phrase for people that are sort of sharing their sorrows. It's more commonly referring to like someone who's sort of like passionate about their emotions, but not necessarily like sad all the time. So I would maybe think about that. Then down here, you talk about their bond now forged through the vulnerability shared. I kind of talked about this on the other page. It feels like really only Almond shared a lot of vulnerability. Like Willow was kind of like, my dad died when I was a kid, but like I was really young, I don't remember it, right? So I would maybe alter how Willow interacts with her if you kind of want to build that up as part of their relationship, or just kind of alter this language here, like to say like, when Willow opened up because Almond made herself so vulnerable to her, or something like that. But I wouldn't say they were both equally vulnerable, because as the reader I didn't really get that from the dialogue. And then over here, what do we have? Okay, so it says, as the sun began its slow descent, lighting the sky aflame with strokes of magenta and orange, you have a comma here, Almond felt a stirring deep within her. So you would need either another comma here for the first inklings of possibility amid loss. So I wrote some notes here. They're kind of jumbled and nonsensical, but so you either need a comma here, or you could restructure this. And I wrote here that you could also be a gangster and use a semicolon. I don't know if you've ever used a semicolon. Most people don't know how to use them. I'll explain. There's kind of like three ways to use a semicolon. So the first one, it's when you have two independent clauses that could be a sentence in and of themselves, but they're related. So you could put a semicolon right here, and then you would need a comma right here after her. And then the second one is like lists that have commas as well. So you'd see like Rome, comma, Italy, semicolon, New York, comma, America. And then I'm trying to remember what the last one is. Lists, independent clauses. That's like the main one. And then, oh my goodness, I don't remember. Anyway, I don't use them that often, so I'm not going to remember that. And then the last little thing, there was just a spelling error here, or a grammar error, I guess you'd say. A distance away from the field where Almond and Willow was, you would say were. A distance away from the field where Almond and Willow were, there were the canyons. So those words are pretty close together. I'd maybe shake that up, this one. There were the canyons. There were the canyons, and an evil horse lived there. You could say there was a series of canyons or something like that. But yeah, I would shake up that second whir after correcting this. And that's the end of everything you've given me. So I hope these videos were helpful. You said they were, actually, so I'm satisfied with that. And it is right now Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. No, it's Tuesday. I will bring this to church on Saturday and give it to you. And I'm going to upload this to YouTube now. I'll talk to you later.